Churchill Downs, this is the Oaks and Derby post position draw.
Welcome to Waves coverage of the post position draw for Oaks and Derby 149. Take a live look here. The room is packed. Anticipation is high. Your host this year, in honor of Secretariat's 50th anniversary of his Blazing Derby, when you have co-hosts here, kind of a coupled entry. I'm John Bold in the 1 gate, and along with me in 1A, Secretariat himself, Kendrick Haskins. Rolling into this year, it's interesting. The Kentucky Derby went through kind of a phase where it was getting kind of boring.
Right.
We had 6 favorites win in a row from 2013 to 2018. Then everything broke loose. We had a 20-1, a 12-1, an 8-1, and an 80-1 last year. Throw in a couple of DQs, and you don't know what it's going to be when you roll into Derby anymore. So my question for you, Kendrick, is do we expect this to go back to the old days of like a Forte, strong winner, or is it still wide open?
You know, so many people are big on Forte, and usually when you see a horse like Forte that so many people are high on, they have these big, these big finishes. Well, he doesn't have these blowout wins that you've seen in the past, so I think it's more wide open than people are giving it credit for.
Okay, the novice looks at the post positions and never likes to be in the outside gates, but the fact is 12 of the last 23 winners have been from gate 13 or out. 8 of the last 12 from gate 13 or out. So it's almost like the outside gate is what you want these days.
And it feels like the way Forte runs, being on the outside is better for him. The clearer the path for him, the better off for him.
Okay, now we've got no, we're not going yet. Should we toss in? Oh, we're going to go to Oaks first this year and Derby. They're going to pack them both in. And then Mike Battaglia is going to go ahead and give us his morning line odds, which obviously can change. Do you expect Forte to go off as the favorite? There's a lot of momentum for Tapit Trice.
I think Forte will go off the favorite, but Tapit Trice will be right there with it.
Okay, your long shot. Now, you've been out the track every single morning. Do you see a Rich Strike out there? And by the way, everybody, nobody was talking Rich Strike at this point last year. Matter of fact, Rich Strike wasn't even in. He wasn't in until the last possible day, last possible minute.
I guess I really liked what I saw from Reincarnate this morning. And then, Skinner comes in, and he's a big horse. He's one of the late entries. He's so big and impressive when you look on him. I think Skinner could be right there at the end.
We've had some monsters in the Oaks race over the last few years. This race is set to be more wide open. Do you agree with that?
They say that, but you see the way Wet Paint comes up. I mean,
I saw Wet Paint yesterday.
She can come up from a mile back from the lead and still win the race going away. So she's been very impressive.
Okay, there are limited front runners this year. The post positions draw. Oh, wait, let's get over to Steve Buttleman and let's get this thing going.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Churchill Downs. Steve Buttleman's 28th year as a bugler here at Churchill Downs. Congratulations to him. And good afternoon and welcome as we get set to draw the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby, the 149th running of each. One of the most exciting moments of Derby week as we lead up to the races this weekend. Joined on the stage by several individuals. I'll give you an intro to each of them. Mike Anderson, the president here of Churchill Downs. Barbara Borden, the chief steward for Kentucky. Neil Curtis, senior counsel for Churchill Downs Incorporated. Joe Quinn, senior counsel for Churchill Downs Incorporated. And conducting the draw at the table to my left, your right, is Ben Huffman, the vice president of racing for Churchill Downs, and Dan Bork, the assistant racing secretary and stakes coordinator for Churchill Downs. They will draw both races today. We'll start with the Oaks. We'll draw 7, take a break, and draw the next 7 for the Oaks first, and then we'll do the Derby after that. So with no further ado, gentlemen, let's do it.
Okay, Dan, put in 14. We do have 3 also eligibles in the Kentucky Oaks. It overfilled. Also eligible 15 is going to be taxed with Rafael Bejarano. Also eligible 16 is Julia Shining with Luis Saez. Also eligible 17 is Hoosier Filly Edgar Morales. There we go, Kentucky Oaks.
Number 5.
5 is Wonder Wheel, Joel Rosario.
Number 5, Wonder Wheel. Last year's champion filly had a bit of a clunker in the Ashland, to which Mark Cassey said he was dumbfounded she didn't run better and just said it wasn't her day, but she's been training very well since. Wonder Wheel's also 2 for 2 here at Churchill. She won her maiden race here last year. Number 5, Wonder Wheel.
Number 7.
7 is Wet Paint, Flavian Pratt.
Number 7, Wet Paint, lost her debut on turf by more than 7 lengths last year, so it's kind of hard to imagine her being one of the favorites for this year's Oaks, but since then she's done very little wrong with 4 wins from 5 starts. She likes to come from off the pace, and jockey Flavian Pratt said when riding horses like this, he likes to sense the pace, identify the primary competition, and get a feel for how much horse he has left before making his move, which he will do on number 7, Wet Paint.
Number 2.
2, The Alley's Look, Javier Castellano.
Number 2, The Alice Look with Javier Castellano. Since breaking her maiden at Fairgrounds in December, The Alice Look has never been worse than 3rd. She has earned nearly $200,000 despite being purchased for just $60,000 at Keeneland September. The Alice Look, number 2.
Number 11.
11, Defining Purpose, Brian Hernandez.
Number 11, Defining Purpose, broke her maiden here at Churchill Downs last fall before wintering in Arkansas. Her return to Kentucky yielded a 20-1 upset win in the Ashland. Kenny McPeak is a 3-time runner-up in the Oaks, and he's using Brian Hernandez. They've had a lot of success together. He says that Brian's a rider that never has any silly excuses. When he goes elsewhere, he usually comes back, the consummate professional, a family man, and he always ends up back with him. And he will do so with Defining Purpose, number 11.
Number 4.
4, South Lawn, Ray Lou Gutierrez.
Trainer Norm Cassidy, who trains South Lawn, grew up 20 minutes down I-65 in Bullitt County. This is his first Oaks starter. He'll be joined on Saturday by more than 20 members of his family. He said this week, and I quote, "I'm running out of reasons why she can't win." South Lawn's owner, Robert Masterson, also campaigned champion turf mare, Tepin. That's South Lawn, number 4.
Number 14.
14, Pretty Mischievous, Tyler Gaffleone.
Number 14, Pretty Mischievous, will be wearing blinkers for the Oaks. Make note of that. The divisional leader for much of the spring until a disappointing runner-up finish last time out to Oaks rival South Lawn. Brendan Walsh didn't think the race set up that well for her, but she's coming into this Oaks in great shape, and they're going to add the blinkers to help her focus a little bit better. That's Pretty Mischievous.
Pretty Mischievous.
Number 9.
9, And Tell Me No Lies, Ramon Vasquez.
Number 9, And Tell Me No Lies, first Oaks starter for Peter Miller. The leading West Coast 2-year-old filly last year hasn't won since October. She's one of 2 daughters of Airgate in this race. The dam, though, Be Fair, did finish 4th in the 2009 Kentucky Oaks, none other than Rachel Alexandra. Those are the first 7. That's number 9, And Tell Me No Lies. We'll take a brief break and draw the second 7 for the Oaks.
Likely favorite, Wet Paint, draws the 7 right in the middle of the field. That's perfect.
Right in the middle of the field. She likes to sit back, and it doesn't matter if she's on the rail or on the outside. She's coming towards the end.
All right, more post position draws for the Oaks coming up on Wave. Mischievous already got in trouble, scolded and sent out to the 14 gate, but that's not really such a big deal.
Right, especially in the Oaks race, it's not that big of a deal.
All right, let's draw the rest of the field for the Oaks. Let's go up to Travis.
Here we go.
Number 6.
6, Botanical, Chris Landeros.
Number 6, Botanical, is a starter for 2 times Kentucky Oaks winning trainer Brad Cox. Of course, her big question, as just was said, is whether or not she can handle the dirt. And Chris Landeros, the rider, said that grass horses can take you and you feed them some line and they spin their wheels. But with her, she doesn't spin. He paused and then said, but a work and a race are different things. We'll see for number 6, Botanical.
Number 8.
8, Promise Her America, Jorge Vargas Jr.
Number 8, Promise Her America, one of several horses who entered the Oaks scene with upset victories in the final round of preps. Trainer Ray Handel always believed the key for her was more distance, even if the Oaks seemed like a long shot. He said he's got her as good as he could have her, and he's not nervous yet, but when he throw the saddle on, he said he'll feel the nerves on Promise Her America. Number 8.
13.
13, Affirmative Lady, John Velasquez.
Number 13, Affirmative Lady, the Gulfstream Park Oaks winner, is owned by Ammo Racing and Kia Horabshian, who's been involved in racing overseas, but recently stepped up his involvement here in America. He said they had purchased Affirmative Lady when her sire Arrogate wasn't really that fashionable, but he loved her from the word go, as did trainer Graham Motion. And when asked about running in the Oaks, he said it's a dream, really. And that's 13, Affirmative Lady.
Number 12.
12, Dorth Vader, Luis Saez.
Dorth Vader is trained by Florida-based Michael Yates and is also owned by John Ropes of Florida, who has, he was telling me that he has a significant other of 7 years who sort of mentioned that, you know, you name all these horses after all your other family members, what about me? And so he said, all right. And so they decided on something to do with, obviously, Dorothy, which is her name, and they settled on Dorth Vader. And he said the next to come, the sibling of this horse, is going to follow the Star Wars theme. So Dorth Vader in the Kentucky Oaks as post number 12.
Number 10.
10, Flying Connection, Florent Giroux.
Number 10, Flying Connection, is owned by a group whose home track is in Sunland Park in New Mexico, and that's where this daughter of Nyquist qualified for the Oaks. In all 4 of her victories, she showed plenty of speed, figures to be a pace factor for sure, and she will be piloted by a 2-time Oak winner in Florent Giroux.
Number 1.
1, Mimi Kashushi, Mikhail Barcelona.
Mimi Kikuchi, making her first start in America, has won 3 races in a row, but hasn't started since February. Her sire, City of Light, won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile right here at Churchill Downs back in 2018, part of his first crop at stud. Mimi Kikuchi from the rail, number 1.
And number 3.
3 is Gambling Girl, Irad Ortiz.
And number 3, Gambling Girl with Irad Ortiz, a New York bred that's yet to beat Open Company, but did come within a half a length last time after rallying from last. She's going to be reunited with Irad Ortiz, who rode her in both of her victories, and trainer Todd Pletcher knows the Kentucky Oaks quite well. If he wins another, he's got 4. That would put him in a tie for most ever. That is Gambling Girl, number 3. So those are the first 7. We'll take a brief break, get the morning line odds for you, and then we'll come back and keep the show going.
All right, no big surprises here and no careers ruined by the post positions draw in the Oaks.
It's going to be a Pletcher versus Cox, Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, I think so. Be right back on Wave. Welcome back to Waves coverage of the post positions draw. We're going to get the morning line odds right now. Remember, that's just a starting point. The bettors make the difference with their bucks.
Right.
Just a couple of housekeeping
I think you'll
notes.
see a lot of money come in on Gambling Girl and on Wet Paint.
Okay, let's get up to the podium.
Who's also eligible number 16. So Luis Saya's first preference is Julia Shining. Second preference will be Darth Vader. And here are the morning line odds for this year's Kentucky Oaks. And I'll read them in alphabetical order for those of us with draw sheets here in the room. And here we go. Affirmative Lady at 10-1. And Tell Me No Lies from post 9 is 15-1. Botanical number 6 is 4-1. Defining Purpose number 11, 12-1. Darth Vader number 12 at 20-1. Flying Connection number 10 is 15. As is number 3 Gambling Girl, 15-1. Number 1 Mimi Kakushi, 20. 14 Pretty Mischievous, 10-1. Number 8 Promise Her America, 30-1. Number 4 South Lawn, 8-1. Number 2 The Alice Look, 15-1. The Morning Line Favorite, number 7 Wet Paint at 5-2. Number 5 Wonder Wheel, 12-1. 15 Taxed at 20. 16 Julia Shining at 15-1. And number 17 Hoosier Philly at 30-1. So once again, Wet Paint, number 7, the Morning Line Favorite for the Kentucky Oaks at 5-2. Take a brief break, send it back over to Joe and Shap as we get situated with the cards and the pills to draw the Kentucky Derby up next. Be right back.
Well, we called it one of the more wide open Oaks, and we have a 5-2 favorite.
5-2 favorite, no surprise there.
No surprise. All right, be right back with the Derby draw next on the Derby Station Wave in just a sec. The post positions draw. Okay, it's time for the Derby. What do you not want? You don't want the 17, you don't want the 1, right?
You don't want the 1. More than anything, you don't want the 1.
All right, let's get up to Travis Stone. Derby time draw.
All right, Steve Buttleman with the call to post. We get set to draw the 149th Kentucky Derby. Same process applies. Ben with a card and Dan Bork with a pill. And we will do the first 10, take a brief break, and do the second 10 after that for the Kentucky Derby. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. Rocket Can, Sun Thunder, both with blinkers on for the Kentucky Derby. And Ben has a few also eligibles as well.
Okay, the Kentucky Derby, we had 23 enter this morning, so there's going to be 20 runners with 3 also eligibles. They are Cyclone Mischief, also eligible 21 with Rosario. AE 22 is Mandarin Hero, Kazushi Kimura. AE 23, King Russell, Rafael Bejarano. Dan put in 20 pills. Here we go.
Number 15.
15, Forte, Irad Ortiz.
Well, there we go. A little drama right out of the way. Forte. The team of Forte has 13 Eclipse Awards between them, 8 for Todd Pletcher, 4 for Irad Ortiz Jr., and of course 1 for Forte, the defending two-year-old champion last year. 21 of 80 Kentucky Derby starters that were champions in their two-year-old year went on to win. When Mage went past Forte in the Florida Derby, Irad said he jumped back into the bid on him nicely, and he knew there was a lot of racing left, so he took his time, and Forte kept coming. He said Forte's biggest asset is his willingness to win, his ability, but most importantly, his mind, of which you'll need all of them on Saturday from post 15 Forte in the Derby.
Number 18.
18, Rocket Can, Junior Alvarado.
Rocket Can broke his maiden on our Stars of Tomorrow card right here at Churchill Downs before running second later in the meet to fellow Derby rival Confidence Game. After winning the Holy Boat earlier this year, he ascended up the ranks quickly, tailed off a little bit lately. Bill Mott hopes the addition of blinkers will tighten Rocket Can up for the Derby post 18.
Number 2.
2, Verifying, Tyler Gaffalione.
Verifying post number 2, the son of Triple Crown winner Justify is also a half-to champion Midnight Bizu. Sold for $775,000 as a yearling. When the connections felt he had the looks, physicality, and demeanor to match the pedigree, his biggest weapon is his speed, but also his rider. Tyler Gaffalione has won 6 straight riding titles here at Churchill Downs. Number 2, Verifying.
Number 12.
12, Jace's Road, Florent Giroux.
Number 12, Jace's Road for Alba Racing. Mr. Alba's nephew Reed helps them name their horses each year and has 3 children, and they started to name some of the horses they run after the kids, the first of which was Brody's Cause, their first Kentucky Derby winner, Jace's Road, another one. But the third name they submitted got rejected. They had to find a new name for it, and ironically, the new name was Angel of Empire, but Jace's Road is number 12 for them in the Derby on Saturday.
Number 8.
8, Mage, Javier Castellano.
Mage, which also means magician or wizard, was named after his sire Good Magic and his Good Magic dam Glinda the Good from The Wizard of Oz. Mage's eye-catching far turn move in the Florida Derby wasn't quite enough to beat Forte, but it was only his 3rd career start. Gustavo Delgado has 3 Derby starters to his name, and it'll be the 16th for Javier Castellano on Mage, number 8.
17.
17, Derma Sotogake, Christophe Lemaire.
Number 17, Derma Sotogake, of course, comes from Japan via the UAE. UAE Derby winners are 0 for 18 in the Kentucky Derby, though. The best finish was 5th with Master of Hounds in 2021. He did go wire to wire in the UAE Derby, but Derma Sotogake has rated kindly in the past, so he's a little bit more adaptable than it might appear on paper. That's Derma Sotogake, number 17.
Number 16.
16 is Raise Cane, Gerardo Corrales.
Number 16, Raise Cane, burst on the scene with his 7+ length Gotham score earlier this year, where he came from 11th to 14th that day. Keeneland-based Ben Colebrook's first Kentucky Derby starter. He settled his first horse in November 2012. The jockey, Gerardo Corrales, recently finished 2nd in one of the stronger Turfway Park meetings to date. That is Raise Cane.
Number 6.
6, Kings Barnes, Jose Ortiz.
Number 6, Kings Barnes, the only undefeated horse in this year's Derby since 1915. 34 horses have Started in the Derby with a perfect record, 9 exited with that record intact. Jose Ortiz has never ridden Kings Barnes in a race, but got on him before his debut and said he showed a lot of talent, so we started following him ever since. In addition to the workout here, Jose has rewatched all of his replays in preparation for riding number 6 Kings Barnes in the Derby.
Number 14.
14, Angel of Empire, Flavian Pratt.
Number 14, Angel of Empire, figures to be the shortest price of the Brad Cox Quartet in this year's Derby. Turned a lot of heads with a big gallop out in his workout here the other day. He likes to finish his races from off the pace as well. Flavian said the Derby seems open with a lot of horses having similar running style, so he believes the start is going to be really important, and for him that'll happen in post 14, Angel of Empire.
Number 13.
13, Sun Thunder, Brian Hernandez.
Number 13, Sun Thunder. Trainer Kenny McPeak is adding blinkers in hopes of finding an added dimension for Sun Thunder, who he says has done well despite some paceless races and not so great trips. Like in the Oaks, McPeak calls upon Brian Hernandez Jr. to ride. It will be Brian's 4th mount in the Kentucky Derby with number 13, Sun Thunder. And that wraps up the first 10. We'll take a brief break and draw the pills for the final 10 horses in the Derby. Be back after this.
First horse drawn in the Derby, draw Forte, and he gets the 15 hole. What do you think about that?
Hey, we got him out of the way. At least we know he's not going to be the one.
Right. It's going to be a lot worse. More Derby positions draw coverage coming up on Wave after we take a break.
And welcome back to Churchill Downs as we get set to draw the final 10 post positions for the Derby. Just 10 to go. And we'll see what Miss Hannah Edelin, Miss Kentucky 2022, does with these silks for the final 10. So Ben and Dan, shall we?
Okay, here we go.
Number 19.
19 is Lord Miles, Paco Lopez.
Post position 19 for Lord Miles, a homebred for Vexel Racing, and trainer Safi Joseph Jr., who always felt that this horse had some ability, but only seemed to run in spots. He felt that the Tampa Bay Derby, though, was a, quote, sneaky good race. And after that, they decided to take one more shot at some points. Points they got, and here they are. That is Lord Miles, number 19.
Number 7.
7, Reincarnate, John Velazquez.
Number 7, Reincarnate, is from runner-up Good Magic. Kentucky Derby runner-up Good Magic's first crop. Started his career with 2 consecutive turf races, but has never finished worse than 3rd in all of his 7 starts. Reincarnate is described as a freckled gray and was named after Gavin Murphy of SF Racing and Bloodstock, said that he reminded him of his colt's maternal grandfather, Holy Bull, and thus he named him Reincarnate right there on the spot. Number 7.
Number 4.
4, Confidence Game, James Graham.
Number 4, Confidence Game. Winning Derby horses have averaged 31 days or so since their most recent start of the last 20 years. Confidence Game will be coming in off a 70-day layoff. Only one of 3 horses in this Derby, though, with a win at Churchill Downs, and like others, turned some heads here this morning, or this week with his morning training. He's also versatile. He can come from off the pace, but in the past, he's also shown some speed. So Confidence Game will break from post 4.
Number 9.
9, Skinner, Juan Hernandez.
Number 9, Skinner's come from behind style is similar to that of Giacomo, who John Sheriff's trained back in 2005. Lee Searing and his wife's CRK Stable's 4th Derby starter. Skinner is named after one of Mr. Searing's best salesmen, 86-year-old Don Skinner, who will be here this weekend for the 149th Derby. Congratulations to him. Skinner, number 9.
Number 3.
3, 2 Phils, Jareth Loveberry.
2 Phils, number 3. It's the Derby debut for all of the connections, including jockey Jareth Loveberry, who said he is, and I quote, 90% excited, 7% let's get it over with, 2% nervous, and 1% am I allowed to turn my phone off. He added 2 Phils can be a bit quirky, but is also very responsive, and they've really learned each other, which could come in handy in Saturday's Kentucky Derby. 2 Phils, number 3.
Number 1.
Number 1, Hit Show, Manny Franco.
Number 1, Hit Show, will go unfavored for the first time in his career. Despite a 3-for-5 record, he narrowly lost the Wood Memorial, much like Funnyside did. It was the last to come from the Wood to win the Kentucky Derby. Manny said he has faith in his horse, and when the gates open, he will let him go where he wants, depending on the pace. That is Hit Show, number 1.
Number 5.
5, Tappet Trice, Luis Saez.
Number 5, Tappet Trice, the most expensive horse in this Derby with a price tag of $1.3 million when he was sold at Keeneland September. He showed more positional speed in his Bluegrass win than his win in the Tampa Bay Derby, where he frankly looked like a long shot on the far turn. Jockey Luis Saez, who will ride Tappet Trice, will also stick around and ride the entire meet here at Churchill Downs this spring. That's number 5, Tappet Trice.
Number 20.
20, Continuar, Rausi Sakai.
Number 20, Continuar. Despite being sired by 2016 sprint champion Dreyfong, he actually won his career debut going 9 furlongs and then qualified on the Japan Road to the Kentucky Derby to start in the Derby this weekend. He and Derma Sotogake are the 5th and 6th Japanese-based horses to run in the Kentucky Derby. That's number 20, Continuar.
Number 11.
11 is Disarm, Joel Rosario.
Disarm comes from the same team that was runner-up last year with Epicenter. Both of his runner-up finishes this year, though, have been against the flow of the race. The winners in both went wire to wire. He needed the points last time and got them in the Lexington, where starters are 3 for 38 in the Derby. Charismatic won it, though, back in 1999.
Number 10.
10, Practical Move, Ramon Vasquez.
Never worse than 3rd in 7 starts. Practical Move brings a 3-race win streak to Kentucky. His prior Practical Joke, no more as a sprint or middle distance horse, but he did finish 5th in the Derby despite breaking from post 19. Trainer Tim Yakteen said both sets of his owners are good sports, and he simply wants to win the Derby for both of them and his stable. He'll get his chance from post number 10 with Practical Move, one of his 2 entrants in Saturday's Derby. That is the 20. We'll send it back to Joe and Shap and Caitlin as we gather in the morning line odds. We'll be back in a moment to report those to you, so sit tight. We'll be right back.
All right, second headline, Tappet Trice down low and low post at number 5.
Right, you got to like where Practical Move is at number 10.
Yeah, the 5 and the 10 are the winningest posts. Hit Show down to the 1. We got more analysis and the morning line odds coming on Wave next.
And welcome back, everyone, as we get set to deliver the morning line odds made by Mike Battaglia, presented by Twin Spires for Saturday's Kentucky Derby. And just like with the Oaks, we'll read through them in alphabetical order, and that'll wrap up the proceedings this morning. So here we go. 14 Angel of Empire is 8-1 and third choice on the morning line for the Derby. Number 4, Confidence Game is 20. Number 20, Continuar, 50. Number 17, Derma Sotogake, 10. 11, Disarm is 30-1. Number 15, Forte is the 3-1 morning line favorite for the Derby. Number 1, Hit Show, 30. Number 12, Jace's Road, 15. Number 6, King's Barnes, 12. Number 19, Lord Miles is 30-1. Number 8, Mage, 15-1. Number 10, Practical Move is 10-1. Number 16, Raise Cane, 50. Number 7, Reincarnate, 50-1. Number 18, Rocket Can is 30. Number 9, Skinner is 20-1. Number 13, Sun Thunder is 50-1. Number 5, Tepid Trice is the second favorite for the Derby at 5-1. Number 3, Two Fills is 12-1. Number 2, Verifying is 15. Also eligible, Cyclone Mischief is 30. Mandarin Hero is 20-1. And King Russell is 50-1 for Saturday's Kentucky Derby. And that does wrap it up from up here. Thank you to all the Horseman Connections for joining us this morning and taking the time to answer questions. Good luck to everybody. Enjoy the race.
Wow, where do we start? I guess we have to start with the 2-year-old champion, not trying to be the Derby champion, Forte here. They've set the morning line at 3-1.
3-1.
That's a pretty short price.
It is a very short
for
price.
a horse that had to go last to first and had to squeeze out every bit of energy he had to win the Florida Derby.
You just wonder when will that catch up to him, and I think that's why he's such low odds.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about the most important thing on the heels of the post positions draft is how it's going to lay out. And before today, Kendrick and I got together and talked about you first identify the speed horses and see kind of who's going to get the lead. And we both agree there really only were about 3 speed horses here. And the good news is the 3 speed horses are kind of sprinkled along the front line of the Derby gates. You have King's Barnes in the 6th position. You have Jace's Road, who's going to want to get the lead in the 12th position, and then further out Derma Sotogake in the 17 hole. So to that extent, you're not going to have any crashing of speed horses early on.
Right. You just wonder how long is this race going to take, because so many of these horses are stalkers. It feels like someone is going to be up further in the lead than they're used to being, and you wonder how they're going to accept that, being higher up in the lead than
right
usual.
And sometimes in the Kentucky Derby, the stalkers, there's a slow pace up front, and it didn't used to be that way in the old days, but here in the last 10 years, there's a slow pace up front, and the stalkers can't get up there.
Right. I was talking to Keith DeSormo earlier this morning, and he contends, though, no matter what we say, it's going to be a fast race. He says the Derby is always going to be a fast race because the horses, they feel the pressure, and they feel the nervousness and the excitement of the fans, too. So he says he still thinks it's going to be a fast race.
If you think back to last year, the race actually was run exactly the way all the handicappers figured it. The speed horses that got the lead, and then we all had Epicenter and Zandon coming down the street. It all laid out except for Rich Strike.
Right, because we got the battle we wanted. We was hyping up Zandon and Epicenter the whole 2 weeks leading up to the Derby, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, because literally none of them saw him coming either, Rich Strike steals the show. Okay, so when we tried to analyze what went awry in the handicapping in that race, all everybody could figure out was that it was too much speed up front. I think they went to a half in 46 seconds, something like that, and then the race fell apart. Even the studs like Epicenter weren't able to stay up. This year, do you see something like that happening? I actually don't. I really don't, because like I said, everyone's going to be bunched up right in there, especially coming down the stretch. I don't see anyone just sneaking up on anybody like Rich Strike snuck up on everybody last year.
Okay, now I've been around here 30-some years covering the Derby. I remember when if you drew the 15 post, you're like, oh, right, race over. As we said at the top of the show, 12 of the last 23 winners have been from gate 13 on out, 8 of the last 12. So I mean, we'll be talking to Forte's connections here in a second, but they're probably not bummed out at all.
Especially since they found out early that they were the first horse pick. They're 15. They're probably right where they want to be because you're close to the speed horses, but not too close to them, and he's going to be right there where he wants to be.
Okay, tell me if I'm crazy. I might.
Yes.
I'm thinking about playing against Forte. I've loved Forte all the way through, but the Florida Derby where he had to come last to first and just everything he had to win, and then he's had 2 workouts since then, a 102 and a 101, just not really fast workouts. I fear he may be spent or at least a little bit tired. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. I've been saying this the whole time. It's like, because usually, like I said, when there's been an overwhelming favorite coming into the Derby, it's because they've had these big wins. He's barely won, especially that Florida, like you said, the Florida Derby. He just nipped Mage at the end. Mage, a horse who was only making his 3rd start.
All right, let's talk about the horse everybody's falling in love with because all the novices just love a gray, right?
Right. And it's like 3 or 4 of them in this race.
Right. But it's Tapit Trice, and I went over to the Bluegrass Stakes and got to see Tapit Trice up close. And I always hate betting against a horse that I got to see up close and personal. But
then
Tapit
you look
Trice
at the record of Bluegrass Stakes.
Yeah. Bluegrass Stakes is not a good way in. Tapit Trice on the track, as you're looking at right here. He's got such a beautiful, long, gazelle-like stride, right?
Right. I mean, you know when Tapit Trice is out there without seeing that he's the gray because of that stride. His stride stands out amongst the other horses.
However, you could argue it was all he could do to win at the Bluegrass.
Right. And again, no one has won the Derby from the Bluegrass since, 91, I think is the last time the horse won from the Bluegrass.
Strike the gold.
So it's been a long time. It could be due.
Right,
it could be due.
Okay, so they say in the NCAA basketball tournament that you can play through your seed, right? If you get a bad seed, you can play your way. If you're much the best, you're going to play.
We saw that this year.
So yes, we did. So do you agree with that when it comes to the Kentucky Derby? Can you play through your post position?
You know, before I would have said no, but the Derby has been so wild, like you said, for the last 4 or 5 years. You really can't predict anything in the Derby these last few years, and so I don't think anybody's going to come from too far out. Like Continuar, I think he's pretty much out of the running, and I pretty much think Hit Show may be done. But other than that, the other 18 horses have a serious shot.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give you the Oaks Derby double winner.
Okay.
A $2 ticket. I think Flavian Pratt is going to win them both. I think it's on Wet Pratt. On Wet Paint, and I love Angel of Empire after watching the Arkansas Derby. So, plus, if you've got a name like Flavian, that's just cool, man.
He should be a rapper.
He should be a rapper. All right, we're going to take a break here on the Derby Station and come back with a little bit more analysis as we wind out what's been a really compelling hour right here on Wave TV. All right, welcome back to the post position draw on Wave. You know how a lot of people that work for companies in the PR industry, they always give you these milk toast replies. Right. We ain't got one of those.
We don't
today.
have that with this guy.
No, Darren Rogers is with us now, and if you've seen him on social media and doing interviews around different media, he's really firm this year on his picks, right?
I am. I mean, I love the favorite, Forte. I feel like I'm the only guy in town that likes the favorite, but I'm telling you, I think this guy is multiple lengths better than the rest of the group.
Really?
I do. Look, he's a 4-time Grade 1 winner. He's a champ. He's won 6 of 7 starts. Grade 1 races are the highest quality races around. You don't see somebody winning from 5 furlongs in his debut to 9 furlongs last time out. He's versatile. That's what a Grade 1 horse does. And the last time we had a 4-time Grade 1 winner, it was 2016 with Nyquist. Yep. And we saw what he did. I really think people are knocking Forte's victory in the Florida Derby.
But you love that victory.
I liked it a lot, Kendrick. I really did, because I thought, he already had the points to qualify for the Derby by winning the Fountain of Youth Stakes. He looked like he wasn't at his best, and I don't think he was, but he found a way to get the job done. I thought it was very reminiscent of American Pharoah winning in 2015, the Derby here. Pharoah did not like the track that day at Churchill Downs. Pharoah was in a dogfight. He was urged multiple times by Victor Espinoza, and I thought he got the job done. That's what true champions do. And we saw what he did, and he sprang forward, and he put forth those victories, in the Preakness and the Belmont. I expect Forte to get a lot out of that Florida Derby and jump forward. And I just think, even though he's going to have to weave his way through traffic, this guy he's the bomb.
Okay, now let me debate this. And maybe it's because I'm a 60-year-old tired man here.
Yeah.
But when I see Forte's race in the Florida Derby, I was thinking, man, that had to tire him out.
Right.
And then he comes into these next couple of works and does like a 102. Like, I fear like he might be tired.
Yeah, but he only ran the last 3/8 of a mile in the Florida Derby. I mean, he was near the back of the pack. He was out there jogging around, nice and easy. He sprinted home, had to get it done. Look, Todd Pletcher is better at anyone in the history of the Derby at getting a horse to the Kentucky Derby. This will mark, 65 starters now. He's won it twice. He knows what it takes to win this race. I just don't believe Forte was set for his best effort on Florida Derby Day. I think he left a little in the tank, and if the tank explodes this time and we can, have it full and run away.
Have you been this firm about your selection? I don't remember you being this seriously firm about your selection in the past.
Well, I have on 2 other occasions.
How'd that turn out?
That was American Pharoah and Justified.
Well, it turned out good.
Now, keep in mind, hold on. I even said in 2015 that American Pharoah, I thought he would win the Triple Crown before he won the Derby, but the racing gods humbled me the following year when my pick Shaggoff ended up on the plastic cup. So I can be humbled real quick, but no, I really think and I think there's a clear second choice. Like in me, I think it's Practical Move out west. Look, sometimes you've got the fastest kids on the playground. You know who the 2 best athletes are. So, if I'm going to do a little draft pick on our little handball game, I'm taking Forte, and then I'm taking Practical Move. And you want to take a little flyer on one of your little cute picks? Fine.
Okay, let's talk about my cute picks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because they're not those 2, although I love them both. I made the mistake of doing a little film study session, and I loved Angel of Empire's move in the Arkansas Derby, circling wide and just running away from the field.
That's actually who I like third best, and he's a very nice horse. He'll appreciate all the distance in the world. He's had back-to-back, 9 furlong races, so we know he's fit. We also know that he's ready and able to handle the 10 furlongs. He's drawn finally, unlike the other two Brad Cox horses who are stuck down on the rail and the two-hole. I think Angel of Empire is a very live long shot. I just don't think he's as fast as Forte and Practical Move, but I like him a lot.
And I haven't heard you say Tap at Trice yet.
No, you know what? And I'm taking a stand against the Bluegrass this year. Tap at Trice, he's one of those horses that he's lightly raced. He's going to be breaking from post 5. A lot of horses going to be on the outside. He's not going to, he's going to see a lot of action around him. How is he going to respond to that? And then Verifying also stuck down on the inside. I thought he was set for that best effort to qualify for the Derby. I'm sensing 4 weeks later from both horses, we might get a little regression. So I'm actually taking a stand against the top 2 finishers in the Bluegrass.
Okay, one of the horses that has been very interesting to everyone who's been on the backside every morning is Dermisodagake because of their very, very different training style.
Yeah, the Japanese have taken on the global stage in fine fashion in recent years. They on the Saudi Cup, the Dubai World Cup, the Breeders' Cup, they're winning left and right. Dermisodagate is a very serious contender. Now, we've never had a horse from the UAE Derby travel the 8,000 miles here to Louisville and hit the top 5 in the Derby. They're 0 for 18. But Dermisodagate winning from the rail last time out against a field of 15, asserting himself, forward position. He's not a need the lead type. He's going to be forward, but he's a very interesting wild card. I always believe good horses can come from anywhere. He's going to vie for the second choice. I think he will. I think he's been the talk.
Let's talk big picture, and you're the perfect person to talk about this. I opened up the show with we went through a span of 6 years there from 2013 to 18 about where people were like, man, the Derby's boring, like favorites winning every year. Handicapping wise. Sure. Derby, favorites winning all the time. And then we had the last 4 years like 20-1 and 12-1 and 8-1 and 80-1 and a couple of DQs. And do you see the Derby continuing in unpredictability or going back to the way we had it from 2013 to 18?
I don't. The best thing about the Kentucky Derby, and it's very similar. I thought of this analogy listening to something last night in basketball. The March Madness this year. We had Purdue. They were a 1 seed.
Yes.
They got bounced by the 16 seed in the first round. Can you imagine them hanging a banner for the Big Ten championship and celebrating it, right? But that's why we play the basketball games. This is why we run these races. So I can be as cocky and firm on my pick on the Fortes of the world, but that's why you run them, and that's why a horse like Rich Strike hops up there. I said it at the time. We started the point system in 2013, and I think we had 6 consecutive favorites win. Everybody thought it was because of the point. The point system made it easy to win a 20-horse Kentucky Derby.
Yes.
That's what we heard.
Yes,
and I just said, guys, it's a statistical anomaly. And I'd say the same thing with the rash of price horses in recent years.
Right.
A good horse can win from anywhere. And keep in mind, look, we're running 35 races to qualify to be in this race. Every horse in here has a little bit of a resume. Okay. So they've done something. Now they got to do it against 19 of their finest rivals.
All right, well said. His forte is speaking about these things. Thank you, Darren. Kendrick, thank you. Yep. More Wave News in a moment.